we are going to hear from Mr. Johann Berlin, who is the CEO of TLEX Institute. He is an entrepreneur, serial entrepreneur who's been building B Comp and social impact enterprises for years and has been widely acknowledged. I could talk a lot about his accolades, but what I really want to emphasize is his heart, the way he leads, the way he brings people to the table to find common voice and action around transformative vision. And I really encourage all to make it to his website and watch his TED Talk on the power of kindness. It really speaks to who he is and the vision he has for the world, and he manifests it daily. So thank you so much. Please give a warm welcome for Mr. Johann Berlin.
Thank you, Alon. Thank you for that kind introduction, and thank you for hosting this event, and more importantly, the powerful work that Sky Schools is doing, really creating a transformation. In fact, I saw one of the superintendents of the school district I went to. I saw he was forwarded this message, and he may be on this call tonight. And just thinking about in my own life, the impact that educators have had on me, and this particular person, he kept giving me second, third chances whenever I was going through a very hard time. And so it is often that community and that broader extension of educators and parents that really do create new possibility pathways. So I'm happy to be sharing some reflections. I'll also be prompting you guys with some questions, because I'd love to hear from you as we go. And as Alon was mentioning, I've had the incredible privilege of working with leaders across all different types of industry: government, social, nonprofit, philanthropic, and especially in the corporate sector. And I actually see some of our past clients on here. It's really nice to see people like Vivek. We did a lot of programs at his company, Astellas. And over the last decade, while I've been doing this work, it's been so powerful to see what are the skills, the needs, the challenges of creating a more inclusive, a more balanced, resilient, healthy work environment. And I think one of the challenges is so often we're working to retrofit from where we want to be from the current state that we're in. And I think what's so powerful in reflecting about Sky Schools coming into this is that really there's this incredible opportunity to shape those life skills from early on. And before I get into what I think and what we've learned the future skills of the future are, I just wanted to step back, because I think so often whenever we think about pathways, work, economic opportunity, we departmentalize it out of the context of life as a whole, as a broader perspective. And so I'd be curious to hear from people right now, what is it that you feel matters most in life? What are the things that matter most to you? Maybe it could be the work that you do, or maybe it could be something else. And I'd love for you to just put stuff in the chat box and hear. Love matters. Yep. Social connection, family, community health, deep collaboration, cooperation with one another, being intentional, family, health and relationships, meaningful connections, a broader sense of purpose, happiness. Of course, we all want to feel happy. Health, public health, a little fun, absolutely. Health and family. Connection with others, lots on connection here. Healthy family, connection with myself. To be more joyful and to experience joy in life. Creating a world where everyone is happy and appreciated, feels that sense, I really hear that sense of dignity in that. Yeah, feeling grateful, feeling gratitude, purpose, connection. Wow. real mental health services, to deal with the severely ill. And I could also just take that as compassion and caring for society. And this last one I'll end with is just being of service. And so much of what you all have shared is what the data tells us around what makes a good life, right? A sense of belonging, a sense of health, a sense of community, taking care of each other, a dignity and purpose in what we do. And these are all the things we know, right? Like we need these things. These things are foundational, separate from work and education, connection with our parents, with our loved ones, that intimacy, having things we enjoy doing, hobbies, right? Just being able to let your mind wander or to grab onto a passion, exercise, right? And pets, companionship are also something that come up a lot in the different discussions we've had all over the world. One that is a little bit hard when we're living in a Zoom universe, but the positive impacts of being in nature. A few years back, I had written with a colleague a Harvard Business Review article on what are the benefits, what are the benefits of us being in nature, particularly by ourselves, but also with others, can have an incredibly many effect. And this thing that so many of you brought up, dignity and connection. That ability to feel a sense we belong, we have dignity, and we have those who we're connected to. And I know that's really the motif of today's session. So everything you guys shared makes so much sense. And we know these are the more universal motifs in life. But if we zoom in beyond just our overall context of our life, what are the skills of the future, do you think? I'd love to hear from you in the chat box. What are the skills we're looking for in future leaders? Innovation, absolutely. Intuition, yep. Deep collaboration, cooperation with one another, yep. Adaptation, the ability to be agile and move. Empathy, non-judgmental. Communication, yep. Non-judgmental and able to communicate with people, yep. Overcoming bias and prejudice. Honesty, compassion, sensitivity, yep. Yep. Radical compassion, radical empathy, communication with ourselves, understanding our own signals and with others, and resilience. Absolutely. And I would be curious to hear from you guys. How many of those skills do you feel are technical skills? How many of those skills that everyone just mentioned in the future skills? Very few. Yeah, that's right, Matt. Very few. None. You could argue none. Yep, none. Chetan. So this idea that we know intuitively, it's not the technical skills that are really gonna differentiate us, are really gonna allow the next generation and current generation to lead, right? It's more these human skills, these soft skills. And that's so essential. It's so essential. And I just want to link back again, this presentation is not about Yes, but that is exactly the type of thing that Yes is doing. And I'm going to go one level below soft skills. And I'm going to say our own connection to ourself, our mental health, our ability to rest and restore are foundational to all of that. Both the technical skills are barrier to entry. We need to learn them. They're absolutely essential. But it's really those life skills that are going to allow us to thrive in leadership roles and to cooperate. And this is more and more the case. So in the series that Alon mentioned that I've done with C-suites from large organizations and public sector leaders like the former Secretary of Education, former CTO of Aetna, CVS Health, one of the largest healthcare and health services companies in the country. We know from those conversations and from all the trends that we will live in an augmented world, a highly technical world where humans especially will need these soft skills, this ability to discern, this ability to have good judgment and connection with others, and that will be augmented. by a more technological world. And whenever we think about this, if you think about it as an educator or you think about it as an employer, I think of it a bit like a tidal wave, because there's this huge change coming out as the ground is moving from underneath us, and the demands and needs are totally new. The ways we interact, the ways that we work, the ways that we communicate with one another are all changing. And that's the world that the next generation, whether it be millennials or Gen Z or kids who are currently being educated in high school and middle schools and elementary schools all over the country, that's the world they're coming into. And so what are the foundational things that we've seen that we need? And so many of them were already mentioned by everyone on the call. The ability to stay present, right? When you really talk to great product leaders, this ability, or social sector leaders for that matter, this ability to listen, to be present in an era where we are totally distracted will be an essential and foundational piece that we need to cultivate. A secondary one, it's just that self-awareness. Some people were saying in the chat, like connection to myself. That ability to understand our own signals of our emotions, our feelings, our thoughts, but also that part of us which is bigger than all of that, which is self-aware and able to see a much broader perspective and context in life, and to be mindful and to be able to stay present in action. And the other, which was mentioned, I think at least a dozen times in the chat box, is this idea of social connection and belonging, right? And we know, for example, social isolation is worse for you than smoking. And yet, as Alon mentioned, we live in a pandemic of social isolation. If you compare today from 20 years ago, we have fewer people that we feel we can confide a serious problem in. We have higher degrees of social isolation and anxiety. And one of the speakers who's coming next, Louis Gagnon, has actually tracked all of this in the world's largest neuroscientific database, and will share some of those reflections and data. And then lastly, what I think we really want to do is we want all of these things to be combined into skill in action, what I call skill in action. This ability to maintain those different faculties, but while being in service in the world, while doing our jobs, and to adapt and be agile, flexible, open, expanded. And so that's what we've learned at TLEX. And it's just, like I said at the beginning, it's such an honor to be able to speak at a Yes for Schools event, because I truly can say with all of my heart, that is what they are doing. That is the work, that is the way they are educating future leaders today, all over this country. And I'll end my presentation with just a huge amount of gratitude for that whole team, all the teachers, all the principals who support them, and the schools that they're in. And it's a huge inspiration for me to be here with all of you today. Thank you so much.